USTEC 100. Another phenomenal positions we had on the USTEC 100 last week as we took advantage of some interesting sell positions, which we of course capitalized on as we had multiple entries to scoop in significant amounts of profit during the course of last week's trading session. And for those who are part of that profitable journey, well done to you guys for being on standby to catch that move. Now, with a new fresh perspective into this current market structure, I was able to identify some simple setups. So in that regard, let's first scale up into the higher time frame where I want to be sharing with you what I was able to come up with on this chart while trying to dissect what to look out for today and for this week, of course. So the first thing I did here was to try to refresh my memories on what is going on from the higher time frame. And to start with, I went to the daily time frame where you will see that it's quite obvious that price action has been bullish since the beginning of this year. And if you take it a step further to connect the series of higher lows here, you will see we have a beautiful ascending trend line which has been supporting that bullish momentum. Now, with the situation we have here, it is quite clear that we had a deviation from that ascending trend line that was on in the month of April, as we saw a new deviation to the upside, as you will see with that green line on your screen. And in fact, if we zoom into the current structure, you will see that that trend line has been broken to the downside for the first time in the last 3 months, which is a clear sign that we could probably be getting ready for a sell-off. As you all know from a psychological perspective, majority of the key players in the market who had bought the USTEC 100 at a very cheap price, let's say for instance around the 13,500, will at some point want to be doing some profit taking activities, which would reflect on the chart as a retracement, probably into that ascending trend line we identified earlier in anticipation of another uptrend continuation, or it could break down, retest to incite a sell-off. So with this perspective in mind, what is going to be our expectations for this week? Now, if you look at the structure closely and taking into consideration what has been going on in this market in the last couple of weeks, you will see that it is quite clear that that area around the 15,950 has been a significant barrier for buyers in this market. As you will see, every attempt by buyers to break out of the structure has been met with strong resistance from the sellers, further indicating how strong the sellers are around that area. And from a technical standpoint, this whole structure we have here it appears to gradually transition into what looks like a double top structure, which from a technical standpoint is a strong reversal pattern. And you know, when we have a double top structure or any reversal pattern like this, the next thing we want to be doing is to identify the neckline of that reversal pattern, where the breakdown or breakout of the neckline will be the signal we are looking for to validate that reversal pattern. And of course, in that regard, we have the 15,400 marked out, as we would need price to break down the structure to confirm that truly we have a reversal pattern. Now, with the look of things here, at least in the last 4 days now, we saw the breakdown of that ascending trend line here. And in fact, we've seen the breakdown of the 15,400, which happens to be the potential neckline of this potential reversal pattern we identified here. So are we going to be witnessing a reversal pattern this week? So that simply means that we have the neckline area as our key level for this week. So as long as price remains below this key level, we have no business buying the USTEC 100. So if price remains, then we are going to be looking out for ways to capitalize on that bearish move to see price into that ascending trend line we identified earlier dovetailing to about 450 pips to catch there if price moves in that direction. So how are we going to be capitalizing on this move if price still remains below the key level at the 15,400? So in order to do this, we would need to scale down into the lower time frame, that is the 1 hour time frame, to see how participants in this market has been reacting to that key level at the 15,400. So to do that, I will be scaling down into the 1 hour time frame where we want to see how participants has been reacting to the zone. So right back to the 1 hour time frame. So this is our key level. And the first thing you can see here is price is trading below our key level. And when price trades below the key level, we have no other choice than to look out for patterns and structures that will support a downtrend continuation. Now, if we take into consideration the impulsive move that started last week, we can see this might turn out to be a retracement of that impulsive move to incite a trend continuation to the downside. And if you look at what has been going on since the early hours of this week, it is quite obvious that the week has started on a very strong bullish note. As you see, price started at around the 15,285 and it has climbed and in fact broken out of that resistant line at the 15,360 to incite a potential uptrend continuation. So with the higher lows identified here, the next thing we do, of course, is to connect the series of higher lows, which we are going to be using as a trend line to guide our trading activities for today. So we want to capture the pivot lows here. So we have something like this to work with. So with this situation here, if price remains above that ascending trend line, we might likely be seeing price break out of the key level at the 15,400 to incite an uptrend continuation. So that is how we are going to be looking out for buying opportunity. So we can position ourselves above the 15,360 and the 15,400. As long as price remains above that ascending trend line, then we hold on to a bullish bias. But if price action breaks down this ascending trend line, followed by a retest of structure, then we're going to be getting ready to sell, which also suits the reversal pattern we identified on the higher time frame. Then a further breakdown of the 15,285 will welcome more selling opportunities, and of course we want to see if the market will go as far as 450 pips move as we projected on the higher time frame. So this is what we are going to be using to guide our trading activity for the USTEC 100, at least for the first half of this week. So you do want to be marking out those levels on your chart, as you will be needing them as a reference point to guide the trading activity for this week. So let's see how this will play out going forward. And then I was able to cite a level that we can use to guide our selling opportunities in this market, which falls around the 15,325 level. So I want to mark this with a different color to emphasize its importance. So this is what we are going to be using to guide the selling opportunities here. So if price breaks down and retest this level, then we want to be getting ready to sell. And you see how it also shares a confluence with that ascending trend line that we have here. So a breakdown retest will welcome the fail sell position. Then a further breakdown of the 15,285 will welcome more selling opportunities. So mark these levels out on your chart and let's see how the market will be reacting to this current market structure. So I will be taking the next 10 to 15 seconds to see if there are any questions whatsoever before we move on to the next financial asset on our watch list.